Your home may impress visitors with its neat shelves and tidy corners, but what if that so-called order is quietly stealing your energy? Many seniors believe a polished cabinet, color-coded closet, or neatly stacked paperwork means life is under control, yet behind the appearance of order often hides exhaustion and emotional clutter. What looks calm to outsiders can still feel heavy to you every single day. The surprising truth is that countless older adults are unknowingly following 9 powerful myths that create the illusion of organization but never deliver real peace. These myths trick the eye but keep the heart weighed down, leaving homes that sparkle on the surface but secretly overwhelm inside. Before we dive into them, don't just hit like, tap that new hype button. YouTube gives you 3 chances a week to hype, and every hype helps more seniors break free from false order and find genuine freedom at home. Meet Martha Ellis, a 67-year-old retired teacher from Ohio who spent her career guiding children toward clarity and knowledge. On the surface, Martha's home reflects the very order she once brought into her classroom. Visitors are often impressed by the polished cabinets in her living room, the perfectly labeled baskets stacked neatly in her closets, and the carefully arranged photo albums that line her shelves like trophies of a well-lived life. To neighbors, her house is the picture of grace and control. When friends stop by for tea, they often compliment her sense of organization, even joking that she should start a side business teaching others how to get their homes together. But behind the polished wood and matching storage bins lies a reality that Martha has quietly carried for years. When the visitors leave and the compliments fade, she walks through her home with a heavy heart. Every basket that looks orderly on the outside is crammed with papers she hasn't looked at in years. Every labeled container in her garage holds items she doesn't truly need but feels too guilty to throw away. Her photo albums, while beautiful, are mixed with dozens of duplicate prints and blurry snapshots she never sorted. What outsiders see as tidiness, Martha knows is simply clutter that's been hidden in plain sight. One afternoon, while preparing to host her grandchildren, Martha finally admitted aloud, "My home looks neat to others, but I'm drowning in things I don't need." That single sentence captured a truth many seniors silently live with. They believe that if things look orderly, they are living free. Yet the reality is that polished surfaces often mask emotional weight, guilt, or decades of postponed decisions. Martha represents millions of seniors across America who have perfected the art of appearing organized while quietly feeling overwhelmed inside. Her story is not one of failure, but of honesty, a reminder that what truly matters isn't the shine of a cabinet or the neatness of a shelf, but the peace that comes from living lighter. Decluttering Myth 1: The Basket and Bin Illusion. For many seniors, baskets and bins feel like a magic wand for clutter. Walk into any store and the promise is everywhere. Woven baskets that look charming, clear bins that promise visibility, fabric cubes that line up neatly like soldiers in a row. It feels satisfying to bring them home, line them across a shelf, and tuck away the loose odds and ends of life. The closet suddenly looks uniform, the garage feels less chaotic, and the living room corner appears neat. Visitors glance in and often compliment, "You're so organized." On the surface, it looks like order. Yet the reality is more complicated. Those baskets and bins often become the last stop for items we haven't had the courage to sort through. The broken extension cord, the outdated bank statements, the half-used craft supplies, all of it disappears into containers labeled miscellaneous or important. In truth, nothing has been simplified, the clutter has only been dressed up. The bins become vaults of postponed choices, quiet reminders of the decisions we've delayed. And when the moment comes to retrieve something, the illusion falls apart as you find yourself digging through layers of forgotten belongings. For seniors, this illusion can feel especially comforting. Life brings change, retirement routines, health concerns, family dynamics shifting, and neatly stacked bins provide a fleeting sense of control. They whisper reassurance, "At least this is handled." But that reassurance is fragile. Walking past those containers may look like progress, yet deep down, there's the uneasy knowledge that the clutter hasn't left your life, it's just been hidden in prettier packaging. True organization isn't about how many containers you own, it's about making choices that free you from the weight of excess. Instead of asking, "Which bin should this go in?" a better question is, "Do I even need this anymore?" An item that no longer serves you doesn't deserve a decorative hiding spot, it deserves release. The peace you're looking for doesn't come from stacking more boxes, but from having less to hide in them. As one senior put it after letting go of her storage obsession, "I thought I was buying order, but I was really buying time to avoid decisions. The day I faced those choices, I finally felt free." That's the lesson hidden behind every neat-looking bin, the difference between looking organized and actually living with peace. Decluttering myth 2, the neat paper stacks. At first glance, a tidy stack of paper appears harmless, even admirable. Seniors often clip bills together, sort letters into folders, or line up warranty booklets in drawers with the comforting belief that they have achieved order. To visitors, these paper arrangements can look like the mark of discipline and responsibility. Yet beneath the surface lies one of the most deceptive forms of clutter. Stacked paper rarely represents resolution. Instead, it is a physical manifestation of delayed decisions. Every envelope, folder, or clipped bundle is not just paper, it is a reminder of something incomplete. An unopened bill signals a financial task awaiting action. A manual for an appliance no longer in use clings to a past that has already moved on. Even neatly labeled folders often conceal documents that have outlived their relevance. Though contained in orderly piles, these papers exert a subtle psychological weight. They create the illusion of control while quietly reinforcing stress. For seniors, the effect can be especially profound. Retirement years bring a surge of paperwork: medical records, Medicare notices, pension adjustments, legal updates, insurance claims. Each sheet of paper carries with it the possibility of uncertainty, whether about health, finances, or family obligations. Unlike other clutter, paper has the unique capacity to provoke anxiety by simply existing. A stack of medical forms is not just clutter, it is a visual cue of vulnerability. A pile of financial statements does not symbolize wealth but rather unresolved questions about security. The professional approach to this challenge is not to store or label more efficiently, but to curate with purpose. The guiding principle is relevance. Active documents, such as current medical files, ongoing financial statements, legal papers, and a small number of meaningful personal notes, deserve secure storage. Everything else is an unnecessary echo of the past or a duplication of information already available digitally. By eliminating what no longer serves a practical or emotional purpose, seniors can reduce not only the volume of paper but the silent stress it produces. Martha Ellis discovered this firsthand. Her study looked impeccable, but she admitted that every time she passed her desk, unease followed. When she finally confronted her piles, shredding the outdated, recycling the unnecessary, and retaining only what mattered, the shift was immediate. Her desk no longer whispered of postponed decisions. She described it simply: "For the first time, the space around me matched the peace I wanted within me." True organization is not achieved by how neatly paper is stacked, but by how little unnecessary paper remains. Order is not about appearances, it is about clarity, and clarity requires courage to let go. Decluttering myth 3, the polished heirloom display. When you step into Martha Ellis's dining room, it feels like stepping into a time capsule of tradition. Her china cabinet gleams with polished crystal, porcelain teacups line the shelves in neat rows, and silver trays reflect the afternoon sun as though they've just been prepared for a grand banquet. Visitors often pause, admiring the elegance, complimenting her on how beautifully everything is arranged. To an outsider, it's a picture of refinement, the kind of order that seems to speak of dignity and pride. But for Martha, those shining surfaces carry a quiet weight. The truth is, she rarely uses any of it. The crystal has not held a celebratory toast in years, the porcelain cups have never tasted her morning coffee, and the heavy trays spend more time gathering dust than carrying meals. The cabinet, though flawless to the eye, is less a symbol of joy and more a storage vault of obligation. It looks organized, but it feels heavy. Many seniors can relate. These heirlooms aren't just objects, they are ties to loved ones, reminders of parents, grandparents, and earlier years. Letting them go can feel like letting go of people who mattered. And so they are kept, polished, and displayed, not out of love for their daily use, but out of fear of disrespecting the past. The irony is that while these pieces look carefully curated, they often keep a home rooted in yesterday rather than open to today. Martha realized this when her granddaughter visited and, instead of noticing the china, asked her to tell a story about her first year of teaching. That moment made her see what truly matters. Legacy is not stored in glass-front cabinets. It's carried in the laughter, the memories, and the stories we pass along. Children and grandchildren treasure the experiences far more than the objects themselves. Gradually, Martha began to shift her perspective. She chose to use one delicate teacup each morning, not saving it for a special day but allowing it to create new moments now. She gave a silver tray to her daughter, not as an heirloom to be hidden, but as something to serve holiday meals with. And she let go of pieces that no longer held meaning, freeing space for her home to feel lighter and more alive. As she described it later, "Once I stopped polishing things I didn't use, I began polishing the moments that mattered most." The cabinet may not look as full as it once did, but her life feels fuller, and that's the kind of order that truly brings peace. Decluttering myth 4, the guest-ready room. For many seniors, the living room becomes the stage set of the home, the one area that must always appear flawless. Cushions are straightened, picture frames carefully aligned, tables dusted until they gleam. Visitors walk in and see order, pride, and polish. Compliments flow easily, "Your home looks beautiful," or "You've kept it so well." On the surface, this space tells a story of discipline and control. But what the visitor doesn't see is often more telling. Step into the bedroom, and you may find boxes piled against the wall. Open a closet door, and clothes that haven't been worn in decades spill forward. Walk into the garage, and years of forgotten purchases line the shelves in silent rows. This is the contradiction of the guest-ready room. It creates the illusion of order while quietly concealing disarray. The performance is convincing, but it is still a performance. This myth persists because it satisfies a deep need for dignity. Many older adults grew up in a time when the state of one's home was a reflection of personal character. To maintain a spotless living room is to maintain face. It signals to neighbors, friends, and family that life remains firmly under control. Yet beneath this cultural script lies a painful reality. A polished room does not equal a peaceful life. Seniors may succeed in impressing their guests, but they often fail to comfort themselves. The emotional cost of this illusion is subtle but profound. When a person pours energy into curating one perfect space, they silently reinforce the idea that the rest of the home, the parts no visitor sees, can remain neglected. The weight of those hidden spaces does not disappear. It lingers in the mind. The garage that feels overwhelming to enter, the bedroom that no longer feels restful, the closets crammed with postponed decisions, all become daily reminders that the order is only skin deep. True organization does not exist for the approval of others. It exists to bring ease and clarity to the people who live in the home. A house should first serve its owner, not its audience. The shift comes when we begin to organize for ourselves rather than for visitors. That might mean reducing the overflow in a spare bedroom, tackling the boxes in the garage one shelf at a time, or finally sorting through the closet no one else ever opens. When Martha Ellis recognized this in her own life, she admitted, "I was keeping my living room for the world, but I was ignoring the spaces I actually lived in." Once she began to clear those unseen areas, she felt a change no compliment from a guest had ever given her: peace in her everyday life. That is the difference between looking organized and truly living organized. One seeks to impress others, the other seeks to restore yourself. Decluttering myth 5, the color-coded closet. Open the door to a color-coded closet and the sight can feel deeply satisfying. Shirts flow from white to cream to beige, then into blues, greens, and blacks. Skirts and trousers are grouped by season, coats hang neatly at one end, and scarves or ties are carefully arranged by shade. To an outside eye, it looks impeccable. Many seniors take pride in this system, believing they've mastered the art of organization. The closet becomes not just a storage space, but a visual display of order, clean, logical, and stylish. Yet beneath the polished appearance lies a hidden problem. The closet may be neat, but that doesn't mean it reflects the life you're living today. Rows of clothes in perfect order often conceal pieces that no longer fit, items never worn, or outfits tied to an identity that has long since shifted. A jacket that belonged to your career years, a dress bought for a wedding you barely remember, a pair of shoes too uncomfortable to walk in now, all of them occupy space, dressed up as organized. What appears minimalist is, in reality, a museum of the past. For many seniors, this closet illusion holds an even deeper emotional weight. Clothing is memory made visible. The dress you wore when your child graduated, the shirt your late spouse once complimented, the suit you saved for special occasions, each carries a story. Keeping them neatly arranged by color or season creates the illusion that they still belong in your life. But order is not the same as usefulness, and presentation is not the same as peace. When you walk into that closet, instead of feeling freedom, you may feel hesitation, regret, or longing. The danger of the color-coded closet is subtle. It convinces you that you've simplified, when in reality you've only disguised the complexity. The act of arranging clothes by hue or season is soothing, but it does not address the harder question, which of these pieces still serves me now? Without that step, the closet becomes a gallery of past versions of yourself, anchoring you to identities you've already outgrown. The path forward is not about dismantling the system but about refining it. Keep the color coding if it pleases your eye, but let it showcase only what truly fits your present life. Choose the clothes you feel comfortable in today, the ones you reach for with confidence and ease. Release the garments that belong to earlier chapters or imaginary futures. When Martha Ellis did this, she found herself smiling every time she opened her closet, not because it was color-coded, but because every piece inside was a reflection of her life now. A stylish closet can impress the eye, but a curated closet will free the heart. The goal is not to dress your space in order, it's to dress yourself in peace. Decluttering Myth 6, the pantry perfection. There's a certain satisfaction that comes from opening a pantry and seeing everything lined up like a supermarket shelf. Rows of identical cans face forward, bulk packs of pasta or rice are stacked neatly, and boxes of cereal stand at attention. For many seniors, this sense of order feels efficient, even comforting. It suggests preparedness, stability, and control. After all, a well-stocked pantry has long been a sign of a well-run household. Visitors may even comment, "You're so organized, you could run a grocery store from here." But what looks efficient often hides a quieter problem. Beneath the tidy rows are cans that expired months ago, boxes purchased just in case but never opened, and bulk packs that seemed economical at the time yet now sit untouched. That neat display masks waste, not order. Instead of reflecting peace of mind, it often reflects an underlying anxiety, an attempt to manage uncertainty by stockpiling more than is truly needed. For seniors, the pantry illusion has an especially strong emotional pull. Many lived through times when scarcity was real, whether in childhood, during war years, or through periods of financial strain. The instinct to keep shelves full is deeply ingrained. But in retirement, when appetites change, dietary needs shift, and income becomes fixed, the overflowing pantry often becomes more of a burden than a blessing. Each expired can is a reminder of money wasted. Each unopened box is space taken up by food that could have nourished someone else. The sense of control quickly gives way to guilt. There's also a practical toll. A pantry filled beyond use makes it harder to see what you actually have. Duplicates pile up because the essentials hide behind items that never move. Food is forgotten until it spoils, and the very abundance that was meant to provide security instead creates clutter and waste. What looks like discipline from the outside is, in practice, inefficiency in disguise. The shift begins when you move from stocking for appearances to stocking for reality. Instead of aiming for shelves that impress, build a pantry that supports the way you live today. Keep foods you genuinely eat and that align with your health needs now. Donate unopened extras to food banks while they are still usable, so they can serve someone else instead of expiring on your shelf. Use a simple system, 1 or 2 of each staple, rotated regularly, rather than dozens tucked away just in case. When Martha Ellis applied this change, she discovered her pantry felt lighter, and so did she. No longer was she greeted by rows of forgotten cans. Instead, every item was something she could use and enjoy. As she put it, For the first time, my pantry stopped looking like a store and started looking like my kitchen. Pantry perfection isn't about creating a mini-market in your home. It's about curating nourishment that supports the life you're living now, clear, simple, and free of hidden waste. Decluttering Myth 7. The Labeling Trap. There's a certain pride that comes with pulling out a label maker or carefully writing tags for every box and bin. Holiday decor, kitchen extras, old photos, miscellaneous. Once the labels are applied, the space instantly looks more professional, more controlled, even more systematic. For seniors, this practice feels like proof that nothing is out of place. Neighbors who peek into a labeled garage or basement will often marvel, "You're so organized." And in that moment, it feels like a small victory against the chaos of a lifetime's accumulation. But labeling, for all its orderliness, carries a hidden flaw. A box that says old photos is still a box overflowing with hundreds of prints you may never look at again. A bin marked kitchen extras may be full of gadgets you no longer use but can't quite release. The label does not resolve the question of whether the items inside belong in your life, it simply organizes the delay. Labels create the illusion that clutter has been managed, when in reality, it has only been disguised behind neat handwriting or a crisp sticker. For many seniors, the labeling trap runs deeper than convenience. It provides a false sense of permanence. Once something is labeled, it feels justified to keep it. The label becomes permission, it has a name, so it has a place. But what actually happens is that clutter gets institutionalized. Instead of moving toward freedom, you've created a catalog of weight that continues to demand storage space, maintenance, and eventually, decisions from you or your loved ones. The emotional toll is subtle but significant. Each labeled box becomes a silent reminder of tasks postponed and choices avoided. Walking past them can feel strangely heavy, as if the neat exterior mocks the fact that the contents remain unresolved. And when children or grandchildren eventually encounter these boxes, the labels may guide them, but they don't lighten the burden of sorting through what was never truly decluttered. The solution is not to abandon labeling altogether. It can be useful for what you intentionally choose to keep, but to pair it with courageous editing. Before creating a label, ask yourself, does this box deserve to exist at all? If the answer is no, the best label is none at all, because the contents no longer belong in your home. Use labels sparingly, only for items you actively use or truly cherish. When Martha Ellis confronted her shelves of neatly labeled bins, she realized that they didn't represent order, but avoidance. By letting go of what no longer mattered, she needed fewer labels, fewer boxes, and less storage altogether. Her reflection was striking. "I thought the labels made life easier, but all they did was make my clutter look official." Labels can organize weight, but they cannot remove it. True peace doesn't come from decorating what you don't need, it comes from deciding what deserves to remain. Decluttering Myth 8. The Family Archive Fantasy. In many senior households, there are boxes carefully stacked in basements, attics, or spare rooms with neat labels that read, "For the kids." Inside are family photo albums, stacks of yearbooks, china sets, hand-embroidered linens, or even report cards and childhood toys saved across decades. At first glance, this seems like thoughtfulness in action. It feels like preparation, a way of ensuring that the family history will live on through objects. Seniors often believe these collections will one day be treasured, a legacy wrapped in cardboard and tape. But the hard reality is that children and grandchildren rarely want most of these items. While the intention is rooted in love, the effect can be the opposite, an overwhelming burden passed from one generation to the next. Adult children often live in smaller homes, apartments, or entirely different states. They may already be struggling to manage their own belongings. What parents view as precious keepsakes, children may see as clutter, guilt, and responsibility they never asked to inherit. This doesn't mean family history should be discarded, it means it must be carefully curated. A tidy archive is still clutter if its contents are not meaningful to the people who will receive it. The illusion lies in the labeling. A box marked "For the kids" feels final and organized, but unless those children have asked for what's inside, the box represents assumption, not legacy. Seniors hold onto these archives out of devotion, but without honest conversations, the love becomes weight disguised as generosity. There is also an emotional dimension. These boxes can be tied to the fear of being forgotten. By saving objects, seniors hope to preserve identity and ensure that their story will be remembered. But true memory is not safeguarded in stacks of linens or endless photo duplicates. It is carried forward in the stories told, the moments shared, and the wisdom passed down. Objects can support those memories, but they cannot replace them. The healthier path is to shift from storing to sharing. Invite children or grandchildren into the process now. Ask them what pieces truly matter to them. Maybe it's one quilt, one heirloom ring, or a handful of photos rather than 10 boxes of albums. Create story boxes or digital archives that capture meaning without overwhelming. By making these choices together, seniors transform potential burdens into gifts of connection. When Martha Ellis faced her own collection of For the Kids boxes, she discovered her daughter only wanted a few photographs and one small piece of jewelry. Everything else had meaning to Martha, but not to her family. By releasing what her children didn't need, she realized she wasn't losing her legacy, she was protecting her loved ones from inheriting stress. I thought I was preparing a gift, she reflected, but what I really gave them was freedom. Legacy is not in the number of boxes left behind. It's in the love and memories carried forward, and those weigh far less than clutter ever could. Decluttering Myth 9. The Weekend Purge. Have you ever spent an entire weekend clearing out a room, only to feel a quiet unease the next time you opened your garage or attic? That's because most weekend purges aren't true decluttering, they are quick relocations. The living room might look spotless, the closets suddenly open, but the boxes didn't disappear. They were shifted out of sight, into new hiding places. From the outside, it looks like progress. On the inside, it's only rearranged overwhelm. This pattern is common among seniors who want fast results. A burst of energy on Saturday leads to dramatic changes, but the deeper choices, the ones that require deciding what to release, are postponed. Items are boxed, labeled, and stored to deal with later. And later rarely comes. What's left is a home that looks cleaner for visitors, but feels no lighter to the person who lives in it. The emotional trap of the weekend purge is that it creates short-term pride while leaving long-term stress untouched. It convinces you that you've solved the problem, when in reality, you've simply moved it. Closets breathe for a moment, but storage units and garages groan under the weight. And each time the cycle repeats, the hidden burden grows heavier. Breaking free means shifting from speed to intention. Instead of attacking an entire room, focus on small, deliberate progress. Clear one shelf and decide honestly what belongs in your present life, not in your past or in an imagined future. Let go of what no longer serves you, rather than hiding it. A steady rhythm of thoughtful choices creates real change, while weekend sprints only create temporary relief. Martha Ellis learned this after her third miracle weekend. She laughed, admitting, "Every time I thought I was decluttering, I was just giving my clutter a new address." It wasn't until she slowed down, sorting piece by piece, that she found the peace she'd been chasing all along. A weekend purge can make a home look organized, but it cannot make a life feel free. True decluttering is measured not in how fast you empty a room, but in how deeply you lighten your load. Martha Ellis sits in her favorite chair, looking around her home with a gentleness she hasn't felt in years. For so long, she had chased the appearance of order, stacking bins in the garage, labeling boxes in the basement, polishing heirlooms, and keeping the living room spotless for guests. To the outside world, her home looked perfect. Friends admired her discipline, neighbors praised her neatness. But Martha now admits what she once kept hidden. "I spent years polishing, stacking, and labeling. My house looked perfect, but I never felt free." The turning point came when she began to see the difference between looking organized and actually living with peace. Each myth she let go of lightened not just her shelves, but her spirit. The baskets that once held piles of miscellaneous became empty. The stacks of paper that whispered reminders of unfinished business were shredded, recycled, or reduced to a small folder of essentials. The heirlooms she once polished for display became everyday objects of use or gifts passed on with love. Even her pantry, once lined like a mini-market, now held only what she genuinely used. For the first time in decades, Martha's home wasn't a performance for visitors, it was a place that breathed calm into her daily life. She described it simply, "I walk into my house now and I don't feel like I'm carrying a weight. I feel like I can finally rest." This is the true reward of decluttering, not a home that impresses others, but a space that nurtures you. The takeaway is clear, looking organized is not the same as living free. A home can sparkle on the surface and still drain you silently. True peace begins when you stop pretending, stop hiding, and start releasing. And this isn't about perfection, it's about honesty. Honesty with yourself, your needs, and the life you're living now. So let Martha's story be your encouragement. Your peace is not in another storage bin, another label, or another weekend purge. Your peace comes when you choose to let go. If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, drop a comment, and tap that hype button. YouTube now allows you to hype 3 videos a week, and every hype helps more seniors discover that decluttering isn't about appearances, it's about freedom. And freedom, at this stage of life, is the greatest gift you can give yourself.